Hi, I'm Laura from Meadowlark Violin, and today I want to show you a vibrato preparation exercise that you can do even if you've only been playing for a few months. One of the most common questions I receive is, when can I start learning vibrato? Well, I actually think you can start learning the fundamental vibrato motion even if you've only been playing a few months. Now, I know that statement might cause a lot of raised eyebrows from violin teachers, because vibrato is typically something beginners should not try to practice. We violin teachers are usually pretty strict in saying that vibrato should be learned when you're at an intermediate stage, after you have a good handle on the fundamentals. I agree with that. You shouldn't focus on vibrato until you're at an intermediate level. However, I do think that one reason vibrato is so frustrating is because we wait so long to teach the fundamentals of vibrato. Now, vibrato requires the joints in the hand to move in a certain way. And one of the reasons vibrato takes so long to learn is that we have to teach those joints to move in this new way. And another reason people get very frustrated with vibrato is because they try to learn vibrato by mimicking the sound of vibrato, without actually training their joints how to move. So the whole point of this exercise is to start teaching your joints how to move so that when you are ready to officially learn vibrato, you've taught your hand one of the fundamental and hardest to learn concepts. Now, before I teach you this exercise, let's talk about the three elements of any vibrato. First off, there's what I call the motor. You have to have something that initiates that movement. And I want you to think of your bicep as the motor. It's going to push your arm to the left, and then it's going to bring your arm back to the right. That's where the motion starts. Now we just need to transfer that motion to the fingerboard. So something has to stick on the fingerboard. Otherwise, our hands are just sliding around. Now, the part that sticks to the fingerboard is the finger tip. So we've got something initiating the movement, something stopping the movement. Now we've got to have a transition point, and that's the distal interphalangeal joint, or the DIP joint, which is the first knuckle after the fingernail. This is the joint that makes vibrato, and this is the joint that we're going to need to train. So now that you know what our goal is, let's talk about the exercise. First of all, you're not going to use your bow at all. And you shouldn't use the bow with this exercise for a long time until you're ready to officially learn vibrato. You shouldn't be focusing on the sound you're producing at all. You should be focusing on the correct movement of that DIP joint. All right, let's talk about the exercise. First, I want you to put your left hand on the fingerboard. I usually start with second finger on the A string, and you can do this with any finger, any string. Slide your hand up until it hits the bout of the violin. And I want you to memorize what this feels like and where the bout of the violin is touching your hand, because this is going to be your starting point, and this is also going to be what you return to. Now, I want you to make sure that your finger is curved in that normal position. It should form a little square. I also tuck my unused fingers down below the fingerboard. I don't want you to do this. I'm just doing this so you can get a better view. I want you to keep those fingers hovering over the fingerboard. Now, that motor in your bicep is going to pull your hand to the left. The fingertip wants to stay on the fingerboard, so something else has to give, and that's the DIP joint. Allow the arm to pull the hand to the left until the DIP joint is completely flat. Now let that bicep motor bring the arm to the right, and allow the DIP joint to curve again and return to the normal position. And that's it. That's simple, but getting that motion down can sometimes take months, and not understanding this fundamental concept is one of the reasons so many people struggle with learning vibrato for years. So now I'm going to show you what this looks like on every finger. So here's the second finger. The arm pulls to the left, the DIP joint flattens, and then it returns. And notice how my wrist is staying straight the whole time. The wrist is not moving back and forth like this. That's a very common mistake. So when you do first finger, I want you to bring the arm up to the bout. So you might have to move it up to closer towards the bout. And then you're just going to do the same thing. First finger can be a little trickier, but you're pulling your arm to the left, DIP joint flattens completely. Third finger, now make sure you slide it up to your palm that's hitting the bout. Third finger and second finger are usually the easiest. You pull your hand to the left with the bicep, return to the bout. And notice that the thumb moves along with the hand. The thumb does not stay in one place. The fourth finger can be the trickiest one. And what you can do is you can actually do it with the third finger right next to the pinky, and that can help. Okay, so you can do it with the third finger, pull that pinky as flat as you can, that DIP joint, then return. Or you can also try doing it without the third finger. It can be a little tricky, but it's good to practice that as well. Now, does your DIP joint flatten completely when you're doing real vibrato? No, but the point here is to teach it to flex and relax the way it needs to do in vibrato. You must flatten the DIP joint completely in this exercise. You must also remember that the motion originates in the arm, not in the DIP joint itself. A common mistake I see is people try to force the DIP joint to flatten on its own without the arm pulling the DIP joint flat. Remember, this is not a vibrato motion. The arm is the motor, not the joint. Now you'll want to do this exercise on every finger and on every string. Do it slowly and very deliberately. Don't try to speed this up or get to that magical vibrato. That's the trap you can fall into. You're not learning vibrato right now. You're just training your DIP joint. Now you should also only spend 1 or 2 minutes during your warm-up time practicing this exercise. Don't allow it to dominate your practice routine. If you do this exercise 1 or 2 minutes a day for a year or 2 years, then when it comes time to officially learn vibrato and add it into your playing, you're going to be able to learn vibrato so much faster and with much less frustration. So let me know in the comments below what you think about this exercise, and let me know any questions you may have. When you're ready to officially learn vibrato, I've got a whole vibrato course that's part of my online studio, and I'll include a link to that below. I'm Laura from Meadowlark Violin. Happy practicing.